There is a reason men who could afford anything kept carrying rifles their grandfathers would have recognized. It is not nostalgia, and it is not stubbornness. It is that these five were built by people who assumed you would be standing in the cold, in a hurry, with one shot available, and every design decision followed from that. Modern rifles are built to hold half a minute of angle from a rest, because that is the number that gets printed, and along the way the industry quietly stopped paying for everything that does not show up on a target. Those things are why these five are still spoken about, five rifles, and at the end I will tell you exactly which of their traits you can still buy new today, because you do not have to spend $2,000 on a collectible to get most of this. Real quick, so you know who is talking. I am Emmett Boone. I spent 11 years working warranty returns for a firearms distributor, which means my job was opening the box when somebody mailed a gun back and writing down why. These days I run projects at a custom rifle shop. I am salaried. I do not work commission. I get paid the same whether you buy something or walk out of here, and that is exactly why I can tell you the truth. Number 5. The Winchester Model 1895. Browning drew this one, and it broke the pattern that every lever gun before it had followed. Instead of a tube magazine under the barrel, it used a box magazine underneath the action. That sounds like a small change. It was not. A tube magazine stacks cartridges nose to primer, which means you cannot safely use a pointed bullet in one, which means every lever gun before this was limited to blunt bullets and short range. The box magazine freed it, and suddenly a lever action could handle the new smokeless military cartridges of the era, including the .3006. It was chambered in genuinely serious things, and the one everybody remembers is the .405 Winchester. Roosevelt took them to Africa in 1909 and used that cartridge on lion, and the phrase he used for it has followed the rifle for 100 years. Here is what it does that a modern rifle does not. It carries and points like something alive. A lever action of that pattern balances between your hands rather than hanging off the front, and it comes to the shoulder, already looking where you were looking. Modern hunting rifles are frequently muzzle heavy because a heavier barrel groups better on a bench, and that is a real trade that nobody talks about because balance does not have a number. Where it costs you is that these are old. Ammunition for the interesting chamberings is a special order proposition, and originals in good condition are collector money. Number 4. The Winchester Model 71 in .348. Built from 1935 to 1957 in one chambering only, on the strengthened action of the big 1886, about 47,000 made. This is the last serious American big-bore lever gun, and it exists in that odd moment where lever actions had been refined about as far as they could go before bolt guns took the market entirely. What it does better than modern rifles is a specific thing, and it is the thing all of these share. It was built to be carried, worked, and fired once. A .348 out of that rifle in thick timber does not need 400 yards, and it does not need a bench. It needs to come up fast, hit hard at 100 yards, and cycle without you looking at it. That is a completely different design brief from a modern rifle, optimized to hold half a minute of angle from a rest, and it produces a completely different object. Where it costs you is ammunition. The .348 is a genuinely thin proposition today, and that puts most of these in safes rather than in the woods, which is a shame and which is also, by my filter, a failure. Number 3. The classic custom sporter built on a military action. This is not one rifle, it is a whole category, and it was the most respected hunting rifle in America for about 40 years. Here is what it was. A shop would take a military Mauser, or Springfield action, rebarrel it, fit a stock to the specific man who ordered it, install proper sights, and turn out a rifle built around one hunter's dimensions and one hunter's purpose. The best-known American house doing this work opened in the 20s, and their side mount for scopes solved a problem nobody else had solved. And here is what that produced that you genuinely cannot buy off a shelf now: fit. A rifle stock has a length of pull, a drop at the comb, a cast, and a pitch, and those numbers decide whether the rifle lands in your shoulder with the sights already lined up, or whether you have to hunt for them. A fitted stock comes up correct every time without you adjusting anything. Modern rifles are made to fit the average of everybody, which means they fit nobody exactly, and most shooters have simply never experienced a rifle that fits. They assume the little bit of searching they do when they mount it is normal, because for them it always has been. Where it costs you is that this is expensive work and always was, but I want to plant something. You can have a modern stock fitted to you for a few $100s, and almost nobody does, and it is the most underpurchased improvement in rifle shooting. Number 2, the Mauser 98. Not a hunting rifle exactly, the parent of nearly every hunting rifle worth having, and the most influential firearm design of the last century and a half. Here is what Paul Mauser got right in 1898 that we are still copying. Controlled round feed. As the round comes out of the magazine, the case head slides up under a long external claw extractor, and that claw holds it for the entire trip into the chamber and back out. The cartridge is never loose in the action. It will feed with the rifle upside down, on your side in the snow, or worked halfway and reversed, which is exactly what people do when they are frightened. A fixed blade ejector, which throws the empty positively regardless of how slowly you cycle, rather than a spring-loaded plunger that needs speed to work. A third safety lug at the rear of the bolt so that if the front lugs ever failed there is still something holding the bolt in the receiver. Gas handling. Holes and shields designed to route escaping gas away from your face if a case ever ruptures. And a 3-position safety on the bolt shroud that lets you block the striker while still opening the bolt to unload, which is the correct way to make a rifle safe and which a great many modern designs still do not offer. Every one of those is a feature that costs money to make and shows up on no target. That is the whole thesis of this video in one action. Where it costs you is that a genuine 98 is 120 years old. They vary enormously in condition and history, and turning one into a hunting rifle is a project rather than a purchase. Number 1, the pre-1964 Winchester Model 70. The rifleman's rifle, and it has been the answer to this question for 60 years. Winchester built it from 1936 until the manufacturing changes of 1964, and roughly 580,000 of those early rifles came out of New Haven. Chambered in everything from .22 Hornet up through the big magnums, with .30, .06, and .270 the ones that ended up in the most deer camps. Here is what earns it the top spot, and it is 7 things that never appear on a target. It has the Mauser-style controlled round feed and fixed ejector, so it feeds the way I just described. It has the 3-position safety, so you can unload it safely in a cold, wet hurry. The stock geometry was drawn by people who assumed you would be shooting it standing, in a hurry, at an animal, and it comes up right. The metal was polished and blued to a depth that current production cannot justify, which is why 70-year-old ones still look like something. It was built to be repaired rather than replaced, and a competent gunsmith can still fix, tune, or rebarrel one, which is not true of everything on shelves now. The trigger is a simple mechanical design that can be adjusted properly and stays where you put it, and it balances in your hands rather than in front of them. That is why men who could afford anything kept carrying them, and it is why the pre-64 designation still moves prices 60 years later. A modern rifle is better at shooting. This one is better at hunting. Those are 2 different jobs, and we stopped distinguishing between them somewhere around the time everybody started shooting off bags at a covered bench and calling that practice. Now here is the part that is actually worth your money, because I am not going to send everybody out to spend $2,000 on a collectible. You can buy most of these traits new, and almost nobody does. Buy controlled round feed. There are current production rifles with a Mauser-style claw extractor, a fixed ejector, and a 3-position safety in the $900 to $1,400 range from more than one maker. You get the feeding behavior and the safety design that made these old rifles legendary, with a warranty and modern accuracy. Have the stock fitted to you, length of pull, comb height, and pitch adjusted by somebody who knows how, or a modern adjustable stock set up correctly, a few $100s, and it will do more for your field shooting than any barrel or optic you could buy. Buy a rifle that balances. Pick it up, close your eyes, mount it, open your eyes, and see where you are pointed. If you have to move, it does not fit you. That test is free, and I have watched almost nobody do it at a counter. Practice the way you will shoot. Standing, kneeling, off a tree, off a pack, in a coat. The bench is for confirming a zero and nothing else. A man who shoots half-minute groups from a bench and has never fired standing is not ready and does not know it. And if there is an old rifle in your family, take it out and use it. That is the whole point. A rifle in a safe accumulating value, while nobody touches it, has failed at the only thing it was built for. And every one of these 5 was built to be carried, not admired. Training beats gear, every single time. The most important tool you own sits between your ears and your trigger finger, and none of these 5 rifles ever made a hunter out of anybody by themselves. If I could only keep 3 off this whole list, it would be a controlled round feed rifle in a common cartridge, because it feeds when I do it wrong. A stock fitted to me because fit is the improvement nobody buys. And whatever rifle came down through my family, because some things are worth more than a group size. Not because they are the flashiest, because they are proven, they are right for the job, and they are the kind of thing you hand your kids someday. Buy proven, not hyped, and stop grading rifles at a bench. All right, your turn. What old rifle do you still hunt with, and what does it do that your new one does not? Drop it in the comments, because that thread is the actual video, and tell me if I got any of this dead wrong. I read every one. The comment scraps are half the fun. Next time we do the fit question by itself. Every stock measurement that matters. How to check yours in about 5 minutes at home. And why most hunters are shooting a rifle that has never fit them. That one is going to help more people than any rifle I could rank. Shoot straight, buy proven, and I will see you at the counter.